Hi, I'm Dominic from Wooden Camera. We got some wonderful things to show today. Right off the bat, we're going to go over the Elite Handheld Accessory System. This was something that we wanted to take all of the things that used to drive you nuts when using handheld grips and take that all away. One of those main things is the fact that items usually flex too much, or all the parts would actually loosen up and you would have slop when operating with them. To counter all that, we started off with trying to go with the most premium materials that we could find. So we're using 7075 aluminum. We have stainless steel knobs. They're coated in DLC, which is diamond-like carbon. This reduces any chances of corrosion and wear. We also are using grade 12.9 screws on all of the parts. The 7075 material was chosen because of its high yield strength, which means that if I was doing this with a lower grade aluminum and I flex this, I could flex it to the point where it would actually deform. 7075 doesn't have that happen. We partnered with a company called ODI that does nothing but hand grips for things like mountain bikes and motocross and so on. Those grips are now the de facto grip for us on our kits. The things that we've done here on these crossbars is you see an arch on this, and that arch allows us to mount to airy base plates while the camera's still on ahead. So you don't have to remove these items off of your studio base when you're going from studio mode back to handheld and back and forth. These can stay on the camera and on your build. This particular one is a 19 mil and 15 mil lightweight. We also have a 15 mil lightweight with 15 mil studio. And then we have ones that are just 15 mil lightweight. We also have different extension lengths. We have the 4-inch, we have a 6-inch, and we have an 8-inch extension. So this allows you to adapt the kit in any way possible, whether you're bolting it directly to the camera rosette or you're mounting it off the iris rods. So here we have the Fujifilm ETERNA Elite Accessory System. The Fujifilm ETERNA is not a camera that has been officially released yet. We have our bridge plate onto our Arca dovetail, and then we have our Arca base plate. This gives you the 15 mil iris rods at the proper optical center, as well as making cutouts necessary so that you can actually still use the camera controls up at the front. We also have a support system in the back that will be used to support the D-boxes. We also have these NATO side rails. We made an improvement in this design that allows for NATO rails to actually slide on without having to push down on the safety buttons. So this is just a speed method, so you have one less thing to worry about when you're actually trying to apply your accessories. On the back, Fuji made a connector guard off the back of this, and we removed that, made a NATO rail just so you can add more accessories off the back. The Fujifilm ETERNA actually has a dovetail system up on the top for the top plate. In this configuration, we're actually showing it with our Ultra Handle standard system, as well as this top plate fully built out. So you have 3 pieces on this. This allows for a connector block or a cheese plate up on the top. You have a top plate up on the front, and then you have the main plate towards the back. When we have the top plate up front, it allows us to use the 15 mil lightweight rod system so that we can actually mount EVFs, focus assist modules, and so on off of those rods. If we remove this center section, it allows you to use the stock Fujifilm handle. Now on the D-box, we actually are building 2 different D-boxes. We actually have the V-mount and the gold mount on the camera at the moment. It has 2 P-tap outs on it, as well as a connector cable that goes up to this connector block. This allows for 4 14-volt connections. 2 of them are the 2-pin, and 2 of them are the 3-pin. So you actually have RS trigger with that, as long as you plug in the remote into the camera body. Later in the year, we're hoping to release a LPL mount for the camera as well. Fuji's default mount is the GFX mount, or their G mount. They already have a PL adapter for it, and the LPL adapter will adapt around the same system that they use to hold everything down. We now are also showing the 12G SDI distribution amplifiers. So these are allow for 12G input, so we're splitting it from 1 input to 2 outputs. Because this is a reclocking distribution amplifier, all input signals are completely separated from the output signals. That means that any grounding issues that you may potentially have with SDI signals when plugging into cameras that have sensitive ground you will not damage those SDI signals because it is all maintained within the SDI box. Our main thing about designing this was actually building something that was robust, can take some damage by throwing it down on the ground or whatever. It is built in a solid aluminum housing. We also have a bunch of mounting points onto it. So you can see 3/8 on one side, as well as 3/8 and 1/4-20s on the bottom. With this, we also have these 2.5 millimeter spacings here. This allows for a many different style of accessories. So right here is a 1/4-20 and a 3/8 kind of offset. So this allows me to actually attach these onto the box. And this gives you a bunch of different mounting solutions for this item. We also have a 5-volt input to power it up, or you can do it through the 2-pin input. The 2-pin is a 10 to 32 volts versus the 5-volt. It is hot swappable between the two sources, which means that if you run out of voltage, you go below 10 volts here, it automatically would switch over to the 5-volt. One of the big things about 12G signals and 12G SDIs is that normally you would see no dielectric around the center pin. Over time, those center pins will start to expand and you start to have some signal degradation to the point where no signal will pass through at all. We have custom 12G connectors here that actually have dielectric around those that actually will make this more robust and last longer in the field. We're also going to be launching a 4x1 DA. So this has a single input with 4 outputs. Same kind of features where we have the 5-volt and the 2-pin input. And again, a bunch of mounting locations on this. As you also notice, there's a screen on there and a joystick. In this particular case, the use of the joystick is that it allows you to either turn off a given outputs for power saving, or you can actually increase or decrease the gain to get the maximum distance out of your cables. We're also showing the QD mounts. QD is actually a technology that was in the firearm industry. There are a few companies out there that are making these types of accessories, but it seems like some of the camera assistants have reached out to me and they've given me some feedback, and they wanted changes done to whatever was being done out in the field. We've custom made QD mounts for these items. And so now we're going to offer the actual straps, QD swivels, as well as QD mounts on our website. This here is actually the dual 1/4-20 system. The production unit will actually be a little bit shorter. It won't be as tall, but this gives you a large range of adjustment where we can actually go between 25 millimeters all the way out to about 32 millimeter of offset. Now, if we come over to the camera here, we actually have single mount 3/8, and we also have 1/4-20 versions of this. As you see here, we have them in 2 different standards, where one of them is a 360, which means that the swivel literally swivels in 360 degrees. And then we have another one that actually is locatable in 8 different positions. So you actually just can push that center button down and you can rotate it to the next position. The straps themselves have this elastic in it, and the feedback from our customers are literally the fact that they will wrap a strap around their body, and the operator will then, with handles, push onto the camera and kind of put in a little bit of extension on the elastic. Now when they walk, they don't have that kind of jerky motion with it. They now have a more fluid motion with operating with the camera. We're also seeing now that our camera assistants are liking this, because in a situation like we have here on the Blackmagic camera, when they put this camera up, they can put it across their shoulder, and now it can hang down, and they're not trying to hold it in an awkward position. They can actually now carry that camera in the power zone of carrying things on your body. So biomechanically, it's a little bit easier to move this camera around with the strap on it. For more information on all of the things we've talked about today, please visit us at woodencamera.com.